Hey, it's Arroe, and this is Play It Forward. Real people, real stories, the struggle to play it forward. Episode number 128 with Tomos Roberts. We all need hope. Humans have an extraordinary capacity to battle through adversity, but only if they have something to cling on to. A belief or hope that one day things will probably get better. This is the notion behind The Great Realization, a heartfelt poem that Tomos wrote for his younger brother and sister in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Just a few weeks after launching a YouTube channel, Tomos posted a video of the poem, which quickly became an online sensation, receiving over 7 million views right there on YouTube. Well, now, The Great Realization is a beautifully illustrated children's book reminding young readers and adults that a better tomorrow lies ahead. As children head back to school to an uncertain school year, we need something to believe in, and this book opens that door. We are unplugged and totally uncut with Tomos Roberts.
Hello, Arroe. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Dude, I'm so proud of you. I too, am a poet, and I was on the Barnes & Noble tour for 2.5 years, and we would always go over and sit in the poetry section so that people knew that people weren't going to the poetry section. But you have a book here that is drawing millions of people to poetry. You're our new John Lennon, dude.
Well, that is enormously generous thing to say. And I think I've got to do another 60 years of work before I could even be considered in such category. But thank you.
The Great Realization was your opportunity to sit down as a writer and write something that was going to be turned into something positive during this pandemic. Where did it come from inside your heart? Was it just because you saw the news and it was like, this has got to stop?
Well, I can only speak for my experience in the United Kingdom. I'm sure it wasn't too dissimilar to the experience in the US. I felt very, very deeply that we were just surrounded by this kind of aura of fear and anxiety, and it's for very understandable reasons. I understood why, but I mean, you turn on the TV and you find out how many people in your country have died that day, and it would be compared with how many people in other countries have died that day. And I was just started thinking, this cannot be good for people's mental health, and I feel like human beings are incredibly resilient, but I think, we do need a shred of hopefulness. We need something to look forward to and something to keep going for. And so, I started thinking, are there any, if there's a hopeful message to be found, I think it deserves to be found. What could it be? And that was something that I didn't want to take lightly, because I think if you've just lost a loved one or your business or your job, and then you go on the internet and you see this little poet from London trying to tell you it's all for the best, I think that could make you incredibly angry, and it would make me angry. But so I was really taking this seriously. I was thinking, what could be a hopeful message about this time? And the phrase that triggered wanting to write this poem was, I kept hearing people say, I can't wait for things to go back to normal. And that got me thinking, there were definitely these imbalances in our lives before this virus came along. And, maybe we could use how disruptive this moment is to fix some of those things. And then, this year doesn't just have to exist as a dark blot on our calendars. Maybe it could be the year that we put some things right. And, to me, that seemed pretty hopeful.
Well, let me tell you how effective this book is. 2 days ago, when the book arrived at my house, was the day that they said 1 million people had passed away because of the pandemic. I sat down with your book. I read your book 4 times, and I want you to know that every time that I read it, it was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. There's a language here. There's an interpretation. And so it is a very effective book. And parents, as well as adults, should be sharing this book with their grandkids as well as their students at school.
Thank you. So, and honestly, it's so meaningful to me that, that even just to hear that, in your specific situation, you were feeling this way about us reaching this really bleak landmark of number of fatalities, and then, and this story was able to, lift you out of that. And I think that's what I hope more than anything. I hope that this story And this book, I hope it can serve as a tool for parents, and for teachers and for anyone who wants to either explain this time to little ones, because, whether we like it or not, we will never forget what happened in 2020. That's always going to be a year that lives in our memory. And also, not just for explaining what happened this year to us, but also for armoring our own personal defenses, and giving us a challenge, really, like laying down a gauntlet of saying, listen, a better future is possible, but we've all got to build it, and it's going to be difficult because, nothing that's worth having is easily achieved, but I think it's worth it. And, if a lot of other people think it's worth it too, then I think things could improve so much that, just like in the story, we'll look back at this year as not for the suffering and not for the difficulties, but we'll look back at this year as a turning point. And there's nothing more hopeful than that.
From one writer to another writer, Thomas, you got to tell me what it's like to be able to write a story like this or a piece of poetry like this. 60 million people and more have heard it. They've seen the videos. They're reading the book. That next piece of poetry, is it a chore? Did it fall out of you yet? What's going on to your creative system? Because when you write something as big as this, the follow-up, man, is it painful?
I mean, I try and set myself certain little rules, which are to, I think as much as possible, you've got to be appreciative of audience, and you've got to be grateful for your audience. But I think you can't be beholden to your audience. You've got to write, you've got to write from a place of integrity and about what's meaningful to you. I saw this phenomenal interview with Tom York from Radiohead once, where he said, if I tried to make music that I thought my audience would like, I would have become irrelevant a long time ago. All you can do is make what you want to make and tell the stories that you believe in, deeply, and share those messages. And, if anyone wants to come with you, then that's a blessing. And, if people don't, then, that's completely fine. That's everyone's prerogative. So yes, and that mindset actually makes it not a stressful process. It makes it a very peaceful process. Things that interest me, I turn into work. If they interest other people, then that's wonderful, and then I'm very lucky, and I get to, make children's books. And if they don't, then it's okay because it interested me.
You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future, Thomas. The door is always going to be open for you. The stage is going to be here anytime you need it, sir.
Bless you, Arroe. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. You be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thank you.
That's Play It Forward. You can hear other conversations just like this one on all 3 of my podcasts. Like It's Live, Unplugged and Totally Uncut, and View from the Writing Instrument, all found on every digital platform.